think Walt had a good plan in his mind that going into 1956, we would actually take the whole area that was sort of, would be like the northwest corner of frontier land, and we would actually make it into like a nature's wonderland type of a place. And so one day a guy came by to show Walt this home-built flying saucer, you know, ground effect vehicle, and they brought it to the studio, and Roger Broggie and Walt Disney looked at it and said, well, we want Bob Gurr to look at it and see what you think. So I drove it around the sound stage, around the studio lot, and it was an absolute nightmare. This thing had a great big horizontal fan with a really loud motor, and all it did was blow a lot of dust. The Viewliner was supposed to be there for just 2 years because Walt had big plans for 1959, so we started this attraction called the Viewliner because laying a railroad is really quick and easy. It's just rails and ties and ballast. And so I designed this cute little locomotive and little cars for that. While we were installing that ride, Roger Broggie, my boss, and Truman Woodworth, who was the manager of the park at that time, we were walking along the railroad track right along the side of this lagoon, and Truman Woodworth, we called him Woody, Woody says, you know, Walt's got everything in this park, but you know, he hasn't got a submarine.
There were many ideas behind the Haunted Mansion when they were starting to come up with ideas. One of them had to do with a Captain Bloodmere or Captain Blood, Captain Gore. There's a few different stories out there about the name, but essentially there was a sea captain, and it was kind of a nautical theme. To this point in time, there still is the weather vane on top of the Haunted Mansion. That's a ship, kind of a callback to that original story, but not a lot of that remains.
Walt was always the one that was coming up with, you know, what we were going to do. And one day we were sitting in a meeting, and we'd really moved along. We had completely designed the Ford Pavilion. And Walt came in, and there was only, whenever we met with Walt, there was only like 4 or 5 of us. It wasn't a huge group. And he said, you know, there's another piece of real estate left up in the grounds at the World's Fair. And he says, I think we'd like to take that over, and I've got an idea for a little boat ride.
The Tower of Terror is actually, its full name is the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, based on the popular series, The Twilight Zone. And when this attraction was being all put together in early 90s, I was cast as the voice of Rod Serling. Everywhere I went, I was Rod Serling. I would be in a car and somebody would just like walk across the street, a businessman, and I would say, Mr. Harry Diddlebert, age 57, is on his way to a business meeting, unlike none he's ever been at before.